had been 15 years since the French president visited Cameroon, but François Hollande ended his African tour in Yaoundé earlier this month. A very significant visit since Hollande broke a long-standing taboo and spoke about the tragic episodes of the two countries' common history. From the 50s throughout the 70s, as Cameroon was fighting for its independence, the French colonial army massacred hundreds of thousands of people, among them the Bamilikes. Between 300 and 400,000 people from this ethnic group were killed. They were suspected of harboring separatists. The massacre had never been acknowledged by France until now. Today, François Hollande wants to bury the hatchet and fight alongside Cameroon for a common goal: to eradicate Boko Haram. Our focus this week is on Cameroon. Hi, welcome to our focus on Cameroon. Last week, French Prime Minister François Hollande paid a visit to the West African country, where he had broken a long-standing taboo and acknowledged France's controversial role in the massacre of Cameroon's Bamileke people in the 50s. Our first guest for today will give us some more background about this, Mr. Alain Foucault, journalist and historian specializing in Africa, originally from Cameroon, but now he's working in France. Good evening to you, sir.
Bonsoir.
Good evening.
Why do you think it took so long for France to recognize this massacre?
I would like to make clear that this isn't yet a proper recognition. It was just spoken about with words that could have shocked many people, and the reason why France isn't actually recognizing it is that if we did, it would mean France is admitting that it has committed multiple crimes in a region of the world where it was present. You need to remember that we are talking here about more than 400,000 people who were massacred and killed in cold blood simply because they wanted their independence. But what is even worse, especially when it comes to the Bamilekes, is that in their town you could see the same scenarios that we see today with ISIS. They used to decapitate people. There was a public square where the French colonizer used to display the head of people they killed. So maybe those who preach should look at themselves in the mirror in order to resolve the issue.
And is Cameroon going to demand a certain amount of compensation, maybe?
I don't think we are at that stage yet. There have been tragedies everywhere in the world. The important thing is to recognize the fact that these atrocities happened. I don't know what we will also start talking about genocide, because it is 400,000 people we are talking about. But we do really need a memorial, a system that allows to keep the memory alive and to rehabilitate these people who have suffered simply because they asked for independence. It is also important that these people feel like they can participate in politics without any problems, because in this country, when a Bamileke talks about politics, he is not heard. So it is not just about financial compensation. For now, what is important is to recognize the truth and accept it.
And how's the relationship between the two countries today?
The relationship between France and Cameroon is sort of a like of love-hate thing, like it is for many African countries. These past few years, there was a sort of different way that France looked at Africa. People feel like they had built something together and that all this sort of went to waste. So if France really want to repair this important relationship, I think it is time to face the truth.
Mr. Foucault, thank you so much for this. Violence by the Nigerian-based Islamic extremist group Boko Haram has spilled into neighboring countries, including Cameroon. In the past years, its insurgents have been carrying out raids in Cameroon, slaughtering and torching entire neighborhoods. Thanks to a successful joint battle with Chadian troops, Boko Haram is no longer able to kill and kidnap in Cameroon on the scale it did before, but the war is, of course, by no means over. Joining us now is Issa Chiroma Bakari, a Cameroonian politician who has served as Minister of Communications since 2008. Hello to you, sir. Thank you for being with us.
My pleasure for having me.
So how big is the Boko Haram threat in Cameroon?
Yes, Boko Haram became a very huge plague, very huge scourge in our nation, because in the area where they are located, in the far north of Cameroon, the economy is completely brought to a standstill It is impossible to farmers to go to their occupation, the business, the tourism, all the human activities, unfortunately, are brought to a standstill just because of the practice of Boko Haram.
Is Western involvement in such African matters welcomed by everyone in the country?
I would like to remind you, during the last meeting, 1 year or more ago in Paris, when President François Hollande invited all the countries of the front line involved in the fight against Boko Haram, Paris, United States, United Kingdom, Germany, Canada, all those countries made the promise to assist us to put in our disposal the necessary intelligence, military equipment in order to face this common threat.
So now that the threat seems to be relatively smaller, is the bigger concern maybe the recruitment of youth in Cameroon to Boko Haram?
Yeah, it has been a very concerning problem, the recruitment of youth. Because you see, it is very much difficult, not to say impossible, given the fact that there is a kind of unemployment in the nation. We are, for a good deal of time, we have been confronted with economic crisis. You have many people in general, but in particular the youth, who are unemployed. So when Boko Haram arrived with a lot of money, and they try to deceive them into recruiting them by telling them that if even they die, they will go straight to paradise, to heaven.
Thank you very much for your insights, Minister, for this interview.
Merci beaucoup, Madame. Thank you very much. You are welcome. Thank you. My pleasure.
And now let's see what else is going on in Cameroon.
Media reports and eyewitnesses in northern Cameroon say at least 13 people have been killed in an attack by Boko Haram fighters. Government officials say at least 3 attackers were also killed in the fighting. Cameroon's communication minister said defense and security forces vigorously retaliated against the barbaric attack and forced the attackers to retreat. A university in Cameroon has finally put its 3rd electric bus into service. First introduced last year, the bus's battery allows it to run for an entire day before being recharged in the evening for 8 hours. To date, the first 2 electric buses transported 1 million passengers over a 5-kilometer route, with a daily average of 4,000 people. The Cameroon government has reportedly experimented with a Bitcoin-type technology in a pilot project. The highly unbanked West African nation enrolled around 500 people to use an alternative digital currency as their default payment method for a month. The government previously had thought about incorporating Bitcoin, but later dropped their plans due to the digital currency's highly volatile and cost-consuming features. The Ministry of Public Health and the World Health Organization are implementing a new initiative to stop illicit trade of tobacco products. Marking World No Tobacco Day, the ministry is advocating for effective policies to reduce tobacco consumption. They also noted that illegal trade of the product takes away much-needed tax revenue from the government. The Minister of Women Empowerment has condemned the slavery of women, specifically the practice whereby Cameroonian women are lured into job opportunities in foreign countries only to find themselves enslaved. There are reportedly hundreds of women working as slaves in the Middle East.
Cameroon is often described as Africa in miniature, meaning that the country offers all the diversity of Africa in climate, culture, and geography within its borders. Thanks to the rich soil and the varied climates, coast, mountains, rainforests, and savanna, a wide range of crops are grown across the country, and agriculture is the backbone of the country's economy, employing over 70% of its workforce. Ms. Melissa Pereira is Deputy General Director of a construction company called PAC International Cameroon, and she's now joining us from Douala to talk to us a bit about business in the country. Hi, Ms. Pereira. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me, Tal.
So you basically could have chosen to run and invest your business in other locations across Africa. What most attracted you about Cameroon?
Well, Cameroon has been one of my most strategic and best decision I could have done to come and open a structure here because of the diversity that we can find in this country. And geographically, the way it's positioned, I mean, it's just it's very good for an investor to come and implant himself in this country because we can touch other countries around at the same time, and it's a country that is booming in every sector.
How has the business sector in the country been developed in the past years?
Throughout the years, I mean, you can see. First of all, the way we hire the people, you know, before we used to have a little bit more disponibility on hiring people. Now we see more and more that it's a little bit more complicated. And trust me, the Cameroonians are very educated people, and it's a little bit more difficult to hire people, to have available people. So you can tell that the economy is booming by the amount of companies that is coming to hire, the level of the quality is getting higher also.
So Cameroon is literally a fertile ground both for business and agricultural crops. What is holding the local economy back from further expanding to other markets?
If today we're opening doors to people that want to come and invest, today is the moment. We need these people to come and invest because today you find everything, the cacao, the coffee, the tobacco, everything that you find. You know, Cameroon grows. The ground of Cameroon, you can grow anything, and it's just because of a lack of information of people. They don't know this, and today I think is the time to open the doors to other people. For example, I know that in Israel, it's very your know-how for agriculture is known in the world is for the best. I think today is the moment for Cameroon. I mean, I believe Cameroon had already opened its door, but I think today is the time for investor and for the agriculture of Israel to come in Cameroon. We have to grow it at another level. But today already Africa depends a lot on the agriculture and the farming in Cameroon.
Ms. Melissa Pereira, thank you so much for this.
Thank you so much for having me, Tal. Have a good day.
100 wives might be the dream of some men and the nightmare of others. But for Abumbi II, for example, an African king from Cameroon, this is the reality. He actually only married 28 of them himself, but according to local tradition, the king inherits all of his father's wives, meaning that now he has close to 100 queens. Let's hear some more about local tradition from Francois Bingono, who is an anthropologist and journalist, and he joins us now from Yaoundé. Hi, sir. Thank you for being with us. So, is every man in Cameroon allowed to have multiple wives, or is it only for kings?
Polygamy is part of the tradition, and polygamy can be considered in Africa, where the communities practice it. It is considered as a strength because this is a community, this is a society. We need many people to work in the farm. Somebody who has many children, many wives, that would say many people, is considered as being the richest man in the community.
And what is the difference between culture and tradition in the villages and in the major cities across the countries?
When Africans come from the villages because they want to find a job in the cities, they are bringing a lot of their tradition. That is why in a great city like Yaoundé, when somebody dies or when there is a wedding ceremony, you can hear the drums beating. The drums are still beating in Yaoundé, which is a modern society, a modern city. We will beat the drum. It can be to announce the death of somebody. It can be to organize a celebration.
And the population in Cameroon consists of almost 300 distinct groups and languages. How can you explain to strangers that there is still a sense of unity and nationalism within such a diverse society?
You have 234 different languages in Cameroon, which is true. but we don't have 234 different cultures. No, there is a culture of the forest. There is a culture in the West Cameroon. There is a different culture in the north of Cameroon. Then you can divide Cameroon sociologically in 4 different cultures, not 234. And now, when we are talking, when we are conversing, to let people have access to what we are trying to say, we will speak French, we will speak English, we will speak Spanish, German, or Chinese. But what we are telling in those different languages, in those foreign languages, is part of our culture.
Francois, thank you so much for exposing us to this.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Bye.
And thank you all for watching us today. Be sure to catch us again next week. We have another focus coming up on another interesting country. Till next time, see you soon.